Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2M Net podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max, episode 285. Man, Mark, there was a lot of stuff this week. There was probably way too much stuff. This is it feels like the first time you really have a proper conference where we're back to that. There's so much that it's impossible to keep up with it, like how E3 used to be, where once you get past the conferences there'd be so much stuff in those 3 days on the show floor that it'd be well, I guess I'll watch the recaps or whatever of whatever they deem is the most important thing or whatnot. So we will definitely talk about some things from there. Of course, obviously, a lot of the reveals from the opening night live show, which was once again one of those mixed bags, for sure. So we'll get into that. And I guess before we start, should note, of course, this is the official video games podcast at W2M.com. And I am your host, Sean Garmer. With me, as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Yo.
And we are going to be talking about some games. Of course, we're also in partnership with Last Word on Gaming as well. So, so we can just go ahead and get this out of the way. I think we have both been playing Psychonauts too.
Yep. How far are you?
I'm not very far at all. I'm still in the first world where you're inside the dentures.
Yeah,
or the inside where everything's about
the dental world. Yeah,
dental world. And if you have issues with seeing a lot of things with teeth or your mouth or whatever, maybe that's going to bother you. I know there's I love that they put that warning there too at the beginning. It's not only do we have mental health issues,
I really hate that warning. Actually, that's one of the low points of the game. Yeah.
Why do you hate that?
Because it's just so pandering.
Well, but there's people that have that trigger, right?
Then hey, don't play the fucking game, or that's on you. That's not on them.
Well, I know, but they're doing it just to tell you, hey, if you have these, they're being represented in other ways. And, if you have problems with the dental, images, maybe that's something you need to be aware of as well. I don't think that's necessarily.
Let me ask you this: did the first game have that warning?
No,
exactly.
But we're at a different time.
No, It's not like we've traveled 500 years into the future. It's been 15 years. Give me a break.
Fair enough. But I still think that we're talking about we're in a different time here. So
a worse time.
Well, we'll definitely get into that as we talk about some of the things revealed on in Gamescom for sure. But I mean, for me, I feel like I'm reliving Psychonauts again, and I'm enjoying that. Psychonauts is one of my favorite games ever, so I'm loving that, and I'm loving the powers and everything else. I mean, I don't know how. Have you gotten out of the first world? I'm
about halfway through it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a decent sequel. I think it isn't as good as the first Psychonauts.
Okay.
I don't mean that I don't mean that it's the worst sequel level. That's Axiom Verge 2. But it's a very minor step down. Okay, an example is have you gotten the levitation power yet?
No.
So they slightly reworked that in the first game.
I got right to where you get the levitation.
Okay, in the first game, I mean, you pretty much could hold the button down forever to levitate. Especially once you ranked it up even more. In this game, you can only hold it for 3 seconds, and then the bubble pops. So
that's true.
I ended up dying a lot more than I might normally, or in the first game. because I keep expecting to like just kind of float to like a safe platform, and it's like, no, I'm screwed, or like, you know, these levels, like it just doesn't allow for that. So also like the enemies are like, they actually fight back now. In the first game you could like melee your way through the game entirely pretty much, except for like certain enemies that you needed to use powers on, like, you know, like the sensors, they actually are like enemies now. So
I love that though. I love the fact that we're talking about like there's actual like reasons to the different powers and how you go through and defeat certain monsters. There's you know, the blasts tend to work on like the regrets more, whereas the fire works on the
I still use the blast almost pretty exclusively. What else? Yeah, I'm about halfway through. It is a like, that game really opens up in like it's a weird way, because remember the first game, how it kind of slowly opened up areas of the camp, like kind of gradually, like, oh, you beat this ball, or you beat this world, you know, here's like the beach of the camp. This game, it's like you beat the first like 2 worlds, and then it's like, okay, do whatever you want. Like the game really opens up, and it's like, this is like slightly overwhelming. Like,
yeah, but I like that. I like that this is being made for bigger systems now. Like, you know,
they also they do reduce the power from Psychonauts 1. Like, I don't think shield is in this game, or invisibility, and I think there might have been like 1 or 2 others that are like missing also. But they still have like. I don't
think you might get powers later at all.
Oh, I know you do. You get 1. I mean, I won't spoil it for you, but you do get 1 for sure, and you actually get 2. Okay. You get like the first like 6 and like the first like world and a half, or like first 2 game worlds, and then I mean, I just got one extra power in like 1 game world, but that was about it. Okay. But they still like, it's funny because they still like give you clairvoyance on like one of the powers, and it's like, this is not useful at all, or, you know, it's useful only in like puzzle solving. Like, why are you giving me this as a combat power? Just make it so like, hey, if someone is you can see through their eyes with clairvoyance, just make it a button prompt. You don't have to like keep going to this power menu and like juggling powers, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I pretty much, well, I keep levitation and side blast and like the trigger buttons, and then I only have like the 2 other shoulder buttons for like cycling in and out of different powers.
Yeah, fair enough.
I will say, I don't think the game is quite as funny initially. Like, you are introduced, you basically go to Psychonauts headquarters, and you're like the new intern,
right?
And all the interns like haze you, and it's like, I think the first game had a much better cast of characters. Like, there was like the one kind of like asshole kid, or like him and his buddies, but that was about it. This game, like, all the interns suck. But you do get to meet Raz's family, and they're pretty good. Like, they're actually like way more interesting, I think. And yeah, like,
what do you think of the when you get past the dental world? Like, what do you think of like what you have seen so far as like the environment?
It's good. Well, Psychonauts headquarters is pretty large and a little. I don't like the map at all in the game. Like, I guess it'd be nice if you could like set, like, it's not like the biggest thing, but it's just very in universe, and it's like a little hard to read. I will say, I think the shop, like, you don't remember the first game, you could buy like badges, and then like you bought like upgrades, like the cobweb vacuum thing, like that's gone, I think, or I've yet to see it, and I'm halfway through, so I don't think it's in there. In this game, you basically buy pins, and they can they can alter your powers. Like, it's like, oh, you get the first one is a free one. It's like, oh, you can change your levitation ball to blue, and it's like, okay, who cares? You know, like, I mean, I have some good pins now where it's like, oh, I get double money from, picking up stuff, and I get like a shop bonus, and I get like one other good thing. But a lot of the pins are just really like useless, or they don't, and so is the shop itself. Like, you can buy usable items like potions and like the dream candy, and that's useful. But like, it's like, oh, you can buy different photo filters, and it's like, okay, I'm good. I don't. It's really cheap, but it's like I still don't care.
I mean, a lot of cosmetic stuff. It's either or. You end up liking it or you don't. So
yeah. The game. The only thing about the game world is I know the first game really had this. Like eventually, like once you got to a certain point, is I hope there are maps you can buy that just give you all the collectible information. So every world has 5 of those emotional baggage bags.
Right.
You have to find the 5 keys, or typically 5. Some worlds are a little smaller. And then, but like finding those would be nice, or find like displaying what part of the map you're missing figments in would be good. Stuff like that. I mean, how much spoilers do you want me to get into? Because there are some really interesting game worlds. I mean, I don't want to tell you what happens per se, but one of the game worlds is really cool. You're like in a 70s like Woodstock concert, or 60s rather.
I can't wait to get to that. That sounds great.
And you're helping this guy to put back his band to like play on stage.
Okay.
And when you think about musician and Double Fine, who might you think of?
Jack Black.
Yeah. And
nice.
It's funny because like you don't really recognize him. At least I didn't. Until like he starts singing, and then it's like, okay, I know that dude.
Yeah, you know that voice, right?
And also the next level you're gonna face, or you're gonna go into, is a like hospital that gets like corrupted into being a casino, kind of. Ooh. And I got like a lot of Persona 5 vibes from that place.
Oh, that's awesome. That's already intriguing to want to keep. The
only like weird one of the, I wouldn't say downside, but one of the like negative things I would say is like every game or every level has like 3 things for you to do to like beat the level, or to summon the boss, and it's like after the 3rd or 4th time, it's like this gets
it's all the same. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's like different objectives, but it always comes in 3s.
Okay.
So it's like these levels. I mean, you can bounce out of a level pretty easily, but they go on for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, like can't this be like this one big long platforming level? Like that'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, but you knew they were gonna.
It's funny because I looked up a guide last night because I thought I was like in the end game, because like stuff is like rapidly changing in the plot,
right? And
it's like, oh no, I'm only like halfway through, and I'm like, okay, that's good to know, because if I was really at the end, I would have been very disappointed.
No, I've heard that this game, like I've seen a lot of people are spending at least 15 to 20 hours with it.
Yeah,
but that's also like I think you're also getting a lot of most of the collectibles as well. So.
Yeah, like I also don't think this game has quite as many side missions. I've done like 7 or 8, and it's like the guide is pretty much like, yeah, you're kind of done, or and I'm like, really? Because aside from like one of them where it's like a scavenger hunt, which I don't think I can really do at the moment, because it's like, oh, collect 16 items in the game world, but like I only have half of them, and I imagine the other half are like in the back half, like the back half of the game. But most of them are just like, oh, go do like find your little brother 6 times in like this one environment, or go through these like 3 battle arena missions. And that's about it. And I'm like, okay, but yeah, voice acting's good. Looks good. I'm playing on PC. I imagine you're on the Xbox.
Yes.
I mean, I imagine it plays better on yours, because like it's not like bad on the PC, but my PC is getting a little old and a little slow. So,
did you buy it, or?
I had a friend who gave me a code, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because he's like a huge Psychonauts fan, and this was like the first day, or like the release day, and I'm like, oh, like what do you think? Like, I'll get it when I get the money, or when I can get it eventually. So like, oh, I bought 3 copies, so if you just want one code, here you go.
Nice.
I'm like, all right, cool.
It always helps to have that there.
Yeah,
have friends.
And yeah, like I said, I like it, but I don't know if I like the game. Aside from the one world where it's like a 60s concert, none of the other game worlds are like really doing it for me at the moment.
That's
like
fair.
One game world actually did kind of annoy me. It was you're basically rolling around a giant bowling ball, like around like, this like environment, around this level, and it's like, yeah, the last game had this, and it wasn't good there either. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, there's always gonna be. You're not gonna like everything. Probably there's always gonna be something that you're not a big fan of. I think
there is one really cool item you get, or one power. Actually, this is one of the newer powers because it wasn't in the first game. It's called, I think it's called like Mental Connection, and it's almost like a Spider-Man like web swing or like web, like throwing out a web because you can like use it on an enemy and they will like be pulled toward you and stunned. And then there are nodes in the game where like you can like jump up to it and like basically jump between nodes with this like power. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're enjoying it at least. I mean,
yeah,
we'll see. I can't wait to experience that myself and see what I think. I know I'm gonna like the Woodstock thing for sure.
It's been fun. Like I've been playing it and then watching Mad Men. So
okay, that's two distinct things there.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, I think I was watching something else like a few nights ago, and oh yeah, I was watching Overlord, that like World War II zombie movie. Okay. And that didn't quite flow as correctly as Mad Men.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough on that. So like I think the thing that surprised me was you were very excited for Axiom Verge 2. I went and got it for you. I was like, okay, well, this will
be the big game, or yeah,
this will be it's nice to be able to get someone a game that they really want, and then you and all that. And it's like then you go, man, I don't like this at all. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
What a major disappointment that's gotta be to be hyped for something and then just totally 180 on it.
I mean, I think I said it in the review because I wrote the review really quickly also.
Yes.
I wrote like half of it like after my like first game, like long game session. Okay. And then I wrote the other half like after I finished the game. And I finished it. I didn't even realize I finished the game like 4 a.m. I think like a few nights ago. Okay. And then I basically started writing like immediately. And then I finished the review, like 99% of it. And then I got up to go to go to sleep. And I went in my kitchen and I was in the hallway and I'm like, what the hell is this like weird blue glow? Like I saw it like reflected in the hallway, and I looked outside and it was the sun or like the sky, and I looked at the time and it was 6:30, and I was like,
"Wow,
oops." Yeah, I really don't like that game. So I think the biggest problem, a few problems. One is the map is terrible because it's not the first game. The first game, like you could see clearly defined, like. This is a doorway, this is a wall, or like this is like the edge of the map, so you can't go any further typically.
Right.
This game is outside and very topographical. So like you'll go in a room and there'll be like mountains, or there'll be like ditches, or a cave system, and you can't see that well from the map because it's some low res piece of garbage. So you can't really tell like how to get to an area or how to get around. They have a marker system, which is hysterical because like the first game you had like 2 markers, like 1 and 2. So it's like you place marker 1 down about like, I need this one item to get through door, like marker 2, which is where the locked door is. This game, you have an infinite supply of markers and they're all the same color, yellow. And it's like, why can't you differentiate this at all? Like, why can't you go like, the door or the door that is locked is marker yellow. Where the key is marker blue or marker red. No, they're all marker yellow. So you can end up with like a map full of yellow markers that have no meaning. I mean, you can like cover the map with yellow markers, and it's like
that's weird that would be something that like if you went through and added some things that for accessibility reasons, like you would think that adding different markers to make it easier to see things on a map would be something that you make sure you do.
Yeah. Combat is almost entirely melee focused. You have like a boomerang that has a pretty like short range. You never really like. There's only 9 weapons in the game.
Okay.
I mean the first game had over 21. What else?
So you didn't have you haven't tried you never tried to not beat a boss or
I mean, there is one boss early on. It's this like underwater robotic eel thing that you can't beat because like you need a specific upgrade to like even damage it. So I had to like dance around that thing for a few times. But once I got the upgrade, I'm like, I might as well kill it because the regular enemies in the game kind of suck. So I might as well kill something that's a little unique. All the bosses, aside from the eel, all the bosses like ridiculously stupid. Like I always like found like an alcove or something where the boss would just like stay above me and I could just like keep hitting it over and over. Or like there's like one boss that's like not like that, but most of the bosses just kind of like stay in place, or you can just kind of keep hitting them over and over. And you can eventually get 3 energy tanks for like health, so that does it. Even if the boss like hits you, it's not the hugest deal. The items in the game are worthless. The upgrades are more worthless. You get this item. I mean, this is in the review, so I'm going to warn you ahead of time. You get this item in the game. It's like the first item you get is the compass, and it's like a little yellow or like a little dot or yellow. Sorry, a little circle in the lower left hand of the screen, and like the definition is like this lapis lazuli necklace glimmers on one side or shines on one side, almost like a compass. And it's like, you can't call something a compass when the goddamn item description says like a compass. That literally does not work. Just call it the like stupid like pendant, or in the item description just say, hey, it's a compass. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And it's like the game doesn't even tell you how it works. I'd like go on like some other website. I think it was like the Gamer, like some like top 10 beginners list to see what the hell the thing did. And it's like, oh, it occasionally flashes when you're near an upgrade jar. And it's like, okay, why couldn't the game tell me that? Yeah. Like, this isn't Dark Souls. I shouldn't have to piece of shit to, there's not like a bloodstain trail or, anything like that. And even get an upgrade later on, where it's like, oh, this alien jewel fits into the compass. And it's like, okay, what does it do? And again, nothing. You get upgrades. Well, the 2 big things in this game are you can hack enemies, but that really becomes very like boring after a while because it's like, oh, every robotic enemy, just turn them into your helper, or, turn them against the other robots. Like, that's all you really want to do. And then
did you use the drone?
Well, you have to, because the drone is like really major in the game.
Okay.
Much more than like the one in the first game, because I don't think the one in the first game you could even like attack with it. This game you have like a very short range like buzzsaw thing, but the drone is the only way you can enter like the breach, which is like their 8-bit environment.
Right.
And so in this game, like you're frequently switching between like the main world and like the breach world, which is like a smaller environment, but you can switch between them pretty much. Well, you can get from the breach to the real world at any time once you get this one item. You can only go into the breach for like these certain portals. Where it's like, why can't you just give me an item to let me switch at will? Like that would have been nice. Or, who cares? You get like this like ability to like attract portals like later on, but it's like that's not that helpful. Like just give me an item so I can keep switching between the two. The breach, not the breach. The drone lets you kind of hover in midair, and you can also kind of like Spider-Man swing up like cliff sides and stuff like that, or like the edges of like hallways. That's kind of fun, but yeah, combat is just like extremely underwhelming. And the upgrades, like there are 4 main trees. It's like, oh, your health, your like basically powers, the drone, and hacking, and just fill out the drone and the hacking, because you don't need the power one at all, or the health one at all, because you can still find health upgrades in the world.
Right.
Like there's still like an item, and the other one is your combat, and it's like, oh, you can upgrade the speed and damage of your attacks, and it's like, okay, but combat's still underwhelming, so it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, you can do 10% more damage to this enemy. It's like, all right, I guess, or I can just avoid it, or just jump around it because I don't care. I watched Giant Bomb talk about the game. I think it was Jeff who's playing it, and he basically made this analogy that like Axiom Verge was like Super Metroid, and this game is like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and it's like I can kind of see where he's going, but like the combat in Symphony of the Night was rewarding or fun, and getting around the map like made sense. Like this, like getting around this map really is like just for me it was disjointed as all hell, because I'd get frequently stuck in areas where it's like I don't know how to get out of here. Like I was, or where to go, or how, not where to go, because I mean it actually does tell you like it'll tell you on the map. It'll like flash the objective, but it doesn't tell you like how to get there. And it's like I don't need like a direct path, but like if all I can see are like basically closed off hallways, I have no idea how to get to this area at all. So thankfully, some dude on YouTube had like a full walkthrough of the game where I could like pinpoint where I was and then go, oh, you can actually bust through this wall and go through there. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. Too bad the game didn't tell me that. Or like even a help or tip thing would have been nice. Like, hey, you can every like 15 minutes you can like hit a button and it'll tell you kind of like generally where to go. It doesn't need to like point an arrow on the screen and go, hey, go here, dumbass. But something would have been nice.
Is it trying to ape those Metroid games of old of like, well, you really have to figure this out, not necessarily trying to kind of lead you into that.
See, I think the main thing I've seen about this game is like it's supposed to be very exploration heavy, or like that's the main focus. But it's like, yeah, but for me, exploring wasn't fun. So that's where this game like really broke down for me, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If the combat's not enjoyable and the exploration is not fun, there's not a lot to be desired. I mean,
you don't get anything for beating the bosses. You get like an upgrade point or maybe 2, and that's it. So it's like, okay, why make the bosses optional? And then if they are going to be optional, why not at least give you something interesting for it, or like make it like maybe not a challenge, but make it like worthwhile, you know? I mean, I beat the game, and there was at least one boss I never even saw until like I started going through the game, like just kind of clearing out the map, and I faced the boss, and it was above me on a floor, so I just kept throwing my boomerang at it, and yeah, 2 minutes later it died, and I didn't get hit once because I was below it, and it couldn't figure out a way to get to me.
It really felt like he was trying to make a point of, well, people were saying the bosses were too hard in the first game, so we're gonna make it to where
there were a few hard.
Maybe you don't even notice them, or you don't.
I guess there were a few hard bosses, but like it was at least a challenge. I mean, I did die a lot in this game. I think I died like 40 times.
Yeah,
but it was mainly because like some of the regular enemies are really annoying, or you know, dying in the breach, you know, because of like environmental disaster.
I was going to ask. I mean, I know you didn't like exploring, but did you like the world, like the
I mean, the story was interesting. Like, I like the different, like, kind of the ideas of the world, like, you know, the desert, like underwater, and then like I really like the snowy area. But I was gonna say is like the first game had spectacle. Like that first boss you fought, you're like a tiny dot on the screen, and this thing's like massive. And there were like way bigger bosses in that first game too. So it's like, yeah, this game, like the electric eel is kind of interesting, or the robotic eel, but that was like the only noteworthy boss in the game. There was like a few bosses where, they have a bunch of turrets on them that you can hack to like damage themselves or do that. But like most of the bosses, like I kind of just 1 or 2 tries and that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, I mean, I when I saw the trailer, I think for like the limited run games, they're like, we're going to put out a physical version. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like I have a physical version of the first game. I was like, sure, let's go for it. And it's like, yeah, like what a disappointing, turn of events. I mean, I even referenced Symphony of the Night in my review because I'm like, that game has a very good flow, at least initially. Like, I could play like the first third of that game blindfolded if I needed to,
Right.
And this game just does not have that at all. Or it may for some people. I can't. It has good reviews, but yeah, I kind of feel like alone on this front, or it's a very minor point. The one thing I'll say is the game does have a really fantastic soundtrack.
That's positive, at least.
The first game had a pretty. I mean, the first game also had a good soundtrack, but it's very alien sounding. Mm-hmm. This game, it's very Middle Eastern sounding. But it really works for the game's benefit. And it's just that was like one of the really good high points of the game. And he does it. He does the music for both, or
Well, I mean, he does everything for this game.
Yeah, exactly.
Both games. So
yeah, it's just so weird, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, I beat the game with like basically 75% of both things, like items and exploration.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back a little and got like I think I'm up to like 96% on the map. But I just don't have any interest in clearing out the items because all it is upgrade points,
right.
and it is so meaningless that there's no reason to collect them, you know.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of doing something like you said that doesn't have any meaning or like there's no enjoyment out of it?
Yeah, like not every upgrade in Super Metroid or Castlevania is like the most important thing ever. Right. Like it's like, oh great, I got another missile tank when I already have 140
Every
missiles.
game has that. There's things they give you that you're like, oh, why am I going to need this at all?
Yeah, but it's like this game, it's like 80% of the upgrades you get. It's like, oh great, I can get 50 more hacking points. Woo! The one ability you actually do get really late in the game is you can basically turn into a cloud of mist, like just like in Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That actually is a pretty interesting switch to the game. But it happens pretty late, and then like, you know, it really eats up your magic meter, and you can't refill that just by like standing still. Like you have to like go to a save point and like refill it there. So it gets a little prohibitive at a certain point, but at least it's something fun.
Yeah. Again, you know, I'm sorry that.
No, I don't blame you. I think I think it's pretty interesting because like I talked to a friend and he's like a big Metroidvania player also, and he's like, well, I haven't played it, but I have friends who have, and they just said they were like underwhelmed or disappointed, and it's like great. It's nice to know I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I wonder if you're gonna be on an island or
you
know, if you'll be the only one. So
I think like, IGN and GameSpot gave like 8s or like 9s or something, and I'm just like, did you accidentally play the first game? Like, this is the one that's supposed to take place outside, right? You played that one, right? Like, and there is a section about midway through the game where you are forced to be the drone for a pretty extended period of time. And I almost quit that part because like you have to like go to this device to get your body back, and it's like I just could not figure out a way to get out there. I spent like an hour on it until I looked up the damn guide, the YouTube guide, and I was like, oh, you can actually go through this hallway that like the game doesn't tell you about it. You know, the map is like so it's like weirdly not it's not detailed even about like what's a hallway or like what's a passable area and what's not. So it's like I didn't know you could go through that, you know, from like square to square because like the map is just kind of blurry. So it's like, okay, once I got to that, then it was fine. So that's enough of me bitching about Axiom Verge 2. Look forward to it on our Game of the Year list, you know, in a few months.
Well, hey, you know what? At least you got to be vocal about why you'd not enjoy it, and that's good for people to know too, I guess. So if they do check it out, they can.
I think it's funny because I think you got me the game on like I don't know the 23rd, or you know, and I finished it like the 25th, or you know, I finished it in like 2 or 3 days. And I think that kind of surprised you. Or like, what?
I was like, wow, okay. Well, that's interesting. It's like you got that quick. All right.
Yeah, I bought it on the 21st, and I think I finished it on like the 24th.
And the fact that like you didn't like it and you still finished it too. I was expecting, okay, well, this is going to take me a while because I'm not really enjoying it or something like that. You know, that's usually people's.
Well, I kept playing it in the hopes that like, oh, it'll eventually change, or like, oh, you'll get combat will somehow suddenly.
You wanted to really like it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it did not get there for you.
I have a friend. He's playing the game also. He actually doesn't mind it, but he's like a big. This was the analogy I used because he's like a big Grateful Dead fan of the band, and I was like, imagine if there was like some unearthed Grateful Dead album, and you got it, and it was 2 good songs on the album, and the rest were New Kids in the Block cover songs, and he was like, yeah, I'd probably take it back.
I think that would be a lot of people.
Yeah.
At that point, if that were to be the case. So all right. Those were the games we played this week, or really Mark played. So let's go on to talking about things from Gamescom here. The opening night live really, I think, delivered in what you want and giving you a lot of surprises, or in a lot of big announcements, at least in the first part. Then in the second part, they kind of teetered away because he had to start promoting the ads and things to sell the show, and then ending with Death Stranding, which is weird because you've seen it already. It's like, how much more do we really need to see of this game? It's a game that's already been out before. It's not like it's a new game. I mean, like, I don't, I feel like some of the other announcements that were put in here probably could have been used as the one more thing instead of something we already know full well about. But I mean, those are the weird decisions sometimes Jeff Keighley makes. For the most part, I thought it was an enjoyable show, but let's talk about some of the big announcements from it. I think one that I'm sure is keen on your mind as you're a big fan of this franchise, Saints Row Reboot is official after the big rumors, and it is already in controversy land because a lot of people don't like the characters, don't like the background story of the characters, don't like the way the characters look, don't like the way that apparently this is not going to be done and written the same way as the older Saints Row games. It's not a continuation at all of any of those characters either. I mean, so where do you land on this entire thing with the Saints Row Reboot? What do you think?
I'm kind of neutral.
Okay.
I watched that trailer, and a few things kind of jumped out at me. First was like the one guy on the bike with the helmet, the stupid helmet. I'm like, that's just the guy from Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah, I had a lot of people say, I got a lot of Watch Dogs 2 vibes here.
The vibe I actually really got, and this is kind of damning actually, is it seemed like Agents of Mayhem.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. I don't care. I mean, I can't really comment on the characters because like it's a trailer. I don't care about them. Or it's not like
right.
To say negative, but yeah, they're in like a 2-minute video. Like, how are you supposed to gauge a character on that? But it's just like, yeah, like it might be fun. Like, I think I saw the Washington Post thing go like, oh, it's supposed to be look like Saints Row 3 and 4, but had the gameplay of Saints Row 2. And I'm just like, wow, really?
There's a lot of people making comparisons to it looks like Fortnite.
Yeah. Well, it kind of has an exaggerated art style, but it always kind of had that,
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, it's like, if they're shooting for like looking like Saints Row 3 and 4, it's like, dude, those games are old. Like those games, like Saints Row 3 is a 10-year-old game.
Right.
Like, why? They're like, oh, it's supposed to be a huge environment, and it's like, well, at a certain point, I would rather it be a smaller, better looking environment than a huge environment that's from a 2 generations ago, console, Like,
yeah,
it's not. I realize it's not PS5 or Xbox, Series X exclusive. Like, it's coming to PS4 and the One also. But it's like, bump it up a little.
Interesting that they didn't just go ahead and make it current gen exclusive, considering it's a reboot and everything. But because further reboots, if this is successful, the sequels will not be on those consoles. So
yeah, it's like, I don't really care about it because I just didn't like it that much. But like, I would have much more appreciation or much more interest in that like Dead Space reboot, because they're drawing a line in the sand and going like, no, it's on the current consoles and that's it. Like, it'll probably look a lot better, or damn well better at least, than the old games. This seemed like a slightly better like version of like Saints Row 4, but it's like that's not enough. And yeah, I kind of do agree. Like, I miss the humor, or it doesn't have to be like as goofy as.
That's the thing, is we don't know where the humor is going to be.
Well,
it's a trailer.
They didn't have Kanye West's Power playing, so that's one negative right there. The biggest thing for me also is no Kinsey, no dice.
Yeah. Again, these are new characters, so if they're not bringing back anyone, then have different voice actors and have new people doing them. I think some of this is a bit overblown. I get it. You wanted it to be more of what you remember. You wanted it to be the Saints Row that you think of. But I kind of agree with.
At a certain point, like Saints Row 4 ended in such a crazy way, you just can't go like, oh, here's Saints Row 5,
Yeah, but it seems like a lot of people just wanted a continuation with those characters. Like they didn't want this. It could be a reboot, but not don't give me all new characters where basically, I guess you could say, well, they could have just called it something else. It didn't have to be called Saints Row.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, here's my idea. Now that Telltale is kind of back, we do a Saints Row adventure game.
Maybe this is successful. They could, right? And then you could use those older characters there for that.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, the vibe I got was like, yeah, that Agents of Mayhem game. So it's like, this isn't kind of appealing to me. I mean, I guess we'll see when it comes out. Because like what they showed in the trailer was just so like GTA focused or GTA clone, And
but
I think that game started off as a GTA clone, or the franchise did, but it got big or got really big when it moved away from that shit.
Right.
I
agree.
I just don't want GTA set in Arizona.
That's a bad way to look at it, but yeah.
Well, didn't they say like, oh, it's the Southwest? Like, you're not going to be in like L.A. You're going to be. I mean, it looked like you're in like a Reno or something.
Yeah, it definitely did look like you're trying to be in that arena of Southwest.
Yeah,
all that kind of thing.
But I do. I mean, the one thing I actually do like is what they talked about. Like, it's much more kind of business or industry focused, and that's nice. Like, 3 and 4. Oh, I think I don't know if 1 had it, and I think 2 might have. But like 3 and 4, it's like, oh, you can buy ammunition, and then you can go there and shop or whatever. But it's like all you do is just click buy, and that's it. Like, if there's actually like a business sim system in the game, or it's like, oh, you can raise and set prices or collect rent or do whatever. It's like, sure, that might be fun.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting as far as it's not surprising to me that people are upset about not liking the Sant'Elisio or not liking the characters or not liking the writing, where the writing style is going to be headed. I mean, I feel like you have to understand that was a game of a time. And some of that stuff's just not going to fly in 2021, 2022. Do you have a problem with, like, maybe it changes into woke Saints Row instead of the Saints Row it used to be? Like, do you have a problem?
I mean, it always... How do you define woke? It's not like the Saints were like, a white, like a nationalist gang or anything. Like, they had different ethnicities and different sexual characters in like the previous games.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I've seen thrown around of, oh, well, we turned it from what it was to this.
I guess it depends. I mean, it's a trailer, so you can tell. My problem with part of that mentality is like them really trying to capitalize on it and going like it's like Star Trek Discovery. It's like, oh, it's the first female black main character in this, a Star Trek show. And it's like, well, first of all, I mean, yes, in that configuration, yes, but there have been female leads in the shows prior, and there have been African American leads in the shows prior. Get over yourselves. Like they're not. I mean, it's not like they have character bios going like, oh, here's our, crippled guy in the wheelchair. He's like one of the main characters. Remember that Extreme Ghostbusters show?
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, like that show. They didn't see that show. Like, did not have what you would call like the traditional like white male hero,
Mm-hmm.
But that show also didn't like focus on it or draw attention to it. You watched it like the late 90s. The show had black main character, gothic female character who I think was like Latino main character, white or Latino male character, and then the white guy was in the wheelchair. But it's not like they had like ethnic power hour every episode. Like, no, there's real people or real characters, and
Right. I mean, it's a different way of. I don't think things need it's a more subtle way of letting you know. Okay, we've changed.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily have to be in your face. I get that point.
I mean, that's the problem. Is like now it's so in your face. It detracts from the actual artistic or the actual thing. A good example might be Doctor Who.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. There is a better way to do that, and not necessarily like just constantly being like, "Hey, we're this now," or "Hey, we're accepting now," or "Hey, like don't need to do that all the time."
But I thought it was I thought it was funny when the guy was like, "Oh, you're the most like biggest custom created, custom character creator ever," and it's like, okay, like who cares,
That was their chance of a joke, right? Like
No, they were serious.
Yeah.
But it's like,
they're gonna have more. Well, you don't care about that.
Yeah,
it's
like, whatever.
You don't care about that.
Yeah,
credit character, but a lot of people do care about that.
I'll pick default male 1 or maybe male 2 if male 1 looks dumb. That's about it.
Jens is gonna care about that. He's gonna be happy with it. So and what about where it's coming out? As we found out that Horizon Forbidden West is going to be coming February 18, 2022, which puts it like a month after Elden Ring and Pokemon Legends Arceus. And then also coming out the same week is Sifu, this Saints Row that we're talking about. So a lot of stuff coming in that same area of 2022.
Yeah, but at least half of that stuff will still get delayed again.
Let's hope not, but you're certainly probably not wrong in that a lot of that stuff probably will get delayed just because that's how game development usually works. A lot of this stuff doesn't really come out whenever they once again announce it.
I actually fully expect that of the games you listed, Saints Row probably will be the one that gets delayed. Like maybe not like a huge amount, but some. Because they just announced it. I mean, look at these other games. Like they've been announced, or I don't know how long they've been working on this thing, but you think they would have shown gameplay? I mean, they did later on, but
they did. They showed gameplay.
Yeah,
and they also showed some gameplay like behind closed doors. Media as well.
Right.
So that's something. I mean, it wasn't like I think fluid, continuous gameplay. I think it was gameplay of like, well, this is what it's gonna be. And
here's like a mission, or here's like a few minutes. Yeah.
It's not like, oh, here's 30 minutes that you can watch.
Right.
I mean, good. I mean, this is kind of cool in that Jeff Keighley is able to get Sony. Nintendo wasn't here, but like Sony and Microsoft on the same stage in the same event at different times for both of their big games, and that's a pretty cool thing. Always when I see that he's able to do that, whereas E3 kind of segments everybody out, he kind of brings everyone together and does that well. Not only did you get the Horizon Forbidden West release date, you got also the Halo Infinite release date, which is, I've been wondering, are they going to wind up delaying this again? Are they going to wind up just releasing the multiplayer? Well, you had it said right there in front of you. They confirmed the no co-op, they confirmed the no forge, but they confirmed that you will get single player and you will get the multiplayer in one package on December 8th, a day after Dying Light 2, which also got some time at the Xbox showcase the day before, which I thought they did a better time showcasing that than the 3. But that's another thing entirely. It's weird that Halo wasn't at that Xbox thing, and then just to reveal it here, I will say I love that limited edition console. That looks amazing. I want that controller. Don't know if we'll ever have it available separately away from or if it is, it'll be a while before it is available separately away from the console itself. But gotta say, I love that. I love that there's a controller. I love that there's a console.
My problem, the controller looks fine. Yeah. It looks damn sure better than that Forza controller. Or
the Forza controller is I get it. As somebody that has Mexican family, I get what they're coming from with that. And then they went on and showed some other like Day of the Dead, other like Mexican inspired controllers that they're also making that's beyond the Forza controller. Those look cool too. So I'm fine with that. Didn't bother me.
I saw the joke. This is Alex Navarro's joke. He said about that controller. He said the clear plastic part is neat, but why does the rest of it look like it got hit with shrapnel from a gender reveal gone wrong?
That's what I liked about it was the atomic part of it where you could see inside the controller.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, my it hasn't gotten here yet, but my SNES see-through case is finally shipped.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
good.
but my problem with that Halo console is they can't keep regular Xboxes in stock.
Yeah.
Like if you could walk into a Best Buy and there's like 3 of them sitting on the shelf, that'd be one thing. They're gonna make a limited edition console of a console that's already in very limited supply. Like, are you guys dumb?
No, I mean, I think if they're doing this, they know that they have enough of them to be able to do that.
But
You know?
like the second they went on
And I
sale,
don't feel like we keep seeing people come out and go, I've got my PS5, I got my Series X, I got my Series S. I keep seeing it online everywhere. Like it seems to not be this extreme shortage.
okay,
that,
go to 5 Best Buys in your area and see what they say.
I'm just saying they're releasing in a limited quantity. There's not enough to go to an actual store and just have them all on the shelf, but whether it's Sony through their store or Microsoft through their store or GameStop or Best Buy or whoever through their online. It's just also online also because they don't want people rushing stores and camping out.
I had a friend, and this was I think like Thursday. He was like, "Oh, I just got a raise. What should I spend money on?" Like, and I was like, "Oh, I decided as a joke, like, get a PS5." And this was like 11:55 a.m. and like Walmart was gonna do like a stock on like noon, and then at like 12:05 he was like, "Oh, I guess I missed it. They're already sold out." And it's like, yeah, that's not normal, to sell out of.
But this is scalpers also involved in this too because Walmart does the dumb thing of announcing.
Well, you don't think they could block scalpers?
Walmart's they try to do that queue thing. GameStop does it pretty well. Sony does it pretty well. Some of these other stores still haven't figured this out.
Yeah,
like Walmart doesn't seem to do it very well. I thought Meijer did it really well when I tried to get it from their.
Yeah, it's
store,
like, if this guy is getting 100 PS5 sent to his house, gee, you think he might be a scalper? I mean, here's the thing: Walmart doesn't care. They're getting their money either way.
Right, Walmart doesn't care. Exactly, but that's the point.
Do you think a scalper, let's say these things were actually in stores, do you think a scalper's going to like hop to every Walmart in the area? I mean, he might. No. There are the ones that do that.
No,
but
unless they contract people out to do it, they're not going to.
Yeah.
They're part of one big company that does it.
Console looks fine, but and everyone was complaining about the online ordering thing.
I mean, it's online ordering. That's just the way online ordering is.
But it was like buying from Microsoft, and even everyone was like, "Oh, this is a shit show." So
when you just announce right now it's out there, I mean, it's gonna be nuts. That's how it is. How all that stuff. I'm just happy that it has a release date. I'm upset. No co-op campaign. I would have loved to be able to play with Jens or Randy.
I don't think Jens likes Halo, or I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
Well, or any of the Outer Haven guys, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, it would have been cool to be able to play. I like playing Halo co-op, but at least it's out there.
He is obsessed with Halo, or Hades, by the way.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that he is enjoying that. Will he transition that on to other Rogue games? Well, I doubt it, but at least he's one. Yeah. So, one of the games that I thought looked really good out of what was shown here is, it's the off-delayed Lego Star Wars saga, Skywalker saga, which has the entire episode 1 through 9. You can start at any episode you.
You mean it wasn't Alaskan Truck Simulator?
No, not that.
I watched that trailer, and it looks fine. At least I thought this. It's a Lego game, but it was missing the two words I wanted, which was online multiplayer.
That's still a weird thing to me. I get it. This is mostly a kids game.
Well, one of them had it. I think it was like the first Lego Batman had it.
Something must have happened there where they don't do it.
Or like
after that.
I don't know if it was like that one, but I know one of the earlier games, like the 360, had like online co-op, and it's like, it's a good idea. Like, if your dad's in the road or something, and your kid, you want to play, it's like Minecraft or something,
Yeah.
But looked fine. I'm a little. Some of the voice acting was a little dodgy, but
yeah, I mean,
believe me, they can get Mark Hamill.
Do they want to pay to get Mark Hamill? That's the question.
I mean,
I'm sure he's not just.
I don't think he's cheap, but I don't think he's the most expensive. I mean, it'd be cheaper to get him than like Adam Driver or Ewan McGregor probably.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, does Warner Brothers want to pay that money?
Well, no, because it seems like they want to get out of games entirely. So,
yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's their choice. They did that. We see those kind of shortcuts all the time. It's not surprising, honestly, for me.
Yeah, well, they've always done that shit. Like, they always cheaped out on those other games. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, like, for what was a little bit surprising for me, we've known this existed because it got leaked around E3 time, which was there's a, hey, Jason Schreier doing his thing. There's a free access XCOM type Marvel game in the works. Hey, watch out, like, it's going to be great or whatever. And then you don't hear anything, which is weird because it's like, really? We're not going to reveal this after it got leaked or whatnot. So then you find out, well, that's the reason why is because it got revealed here at Gamescom instead it's called Marvel's Midnight Sun. And I thought it looked pretty cool. They created a special character to be showcased in this as well. I mean, what did you think?
I have no problem conceptually with like an XCOM Marvel game. My problem is every character in the game looks awful. They look like a bootleg Yellow Lantern from DC. All the yellow shit on them, like every character. So I'm really hoping that game has some good costume DLC.
It feels like the whole point is like it's like the darker side of.
Well, they're
Marvel,
fighting like
right?
vampires and shit like that. But you don't want to see Wolverine with a glowing yellow suit.
I mean, it kind of makes it look a little bit cool,
With like runes on his costume. It's like, oh god. I thought it was interesting actually that Blade with like the big yellow chest piece. It's like, holy Christ.
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
Or especially Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Think they'll get Nick Cage to voice him?
No.
I thought it was kind of interesting though that like they have a few Marvel or a few X-Men characters in that thing.
Yes, I like that. I like the fact that we're putting all that in together.
Yeah.
It's good that they did reveal it this way because the rumor that had been going around was that you may not even play as Marvel characters at all.
Yeah, it'll be like that X-Men
show up in the game.
It'll be like that X-Men Destiny game that did so well.
It's like thankfully they did not go that route because that wouldn't have I think gone over well at all with anyone. Of like you're kidding me, right? Like you're gonna have these characters in here, and then they're not even going to be you're not even going to be able to play as them at all. Like,
I just think it's weird. I mean, like I said, like if it was just a Marvel XCOM game, that'd be fine. I think it's really weird they're doing it in this format or like this variant because it's like, who gives a shit about like the vampire part of Marvel? Like Blade's kind of it. Well, I mean, they have like other characters like I forget her like last name, but Nico Maroney, or I forget her whatever her name is. They have like darker characters, but it's like it's such a small part of that universe. Yeah. Remember when they announced this was a while ago? They announced they were going to do like a Justice League dark live action movie with like Guillermo del Toro was supposed to direct it.
Yes,
and it's like, why? Like so few people care about this like proper, or even the idea of it. I mean, I guess Guardians kind of proved them a little right because here's a fairly unknown team that got like really big because of the movie. But I think the movie itself, it plays it pretty normal. Like, if this is supposed to be like some like horror themed XCOM Marvel game, it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, it's just going in a different direction. I mean, just to be a little bit different than what you would expect from a Marvel title. I think it's actually. And when you've already got the Avengers and you got the Iron Man VR thing, you got
Guardians also.
You got the Guardians. Like it is kind of like let's do something a little bit different. You already had. I thought it was a Dark Alliance at first when I first saw it, I was like, "Is this Dark Alliance?"
Yeah.
And they're doing a sequel again. Like the way they kept just showing characters, and then I saw the 2K logo. Oh, I was like, "Oh, that's that free access."
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I like to see when they actually show that gameplay. And so it's
Sure.
gonna look
Yeah.
like, the cutscene looks cool and everything. Getting to see the characters is great, but the game is not gonna be so. Will be much more interesting once you actually see what that game is. One game that I think is now one of my most anticipated games of next year after they announced this, because like I was like, well, this is different, and then also like what they're saying, some of their ideas of where this comes from, like what they wanted out of the game, what they wanted
Are you talking
it
about
to be Dokev.
I thought you were going to say WWE 2K22.
No, not that. So
I watched that trailer and started laughing when like they're having like this big fight in the middle of the city, and there's like a woman like running away from it, and I'm just like, yeah, imagine like being in her position, like these two asshole kids are just fighting, and it's causing like devastation in the town.
So it's an MMO. They're known for was it Black Desert Online?
Yeah.
So this is an MMO about sort of like monster catching, but not in a Pokemon sense, but like almost like in a Ghostbusters sense. And Ghostbusters is their the inspiration for this.
Yeah.
Sort of. You'll see. I don't know if if you're watching on video, I'm showing video of this here. I don't know if you'll actually get to the point where you'll see them. Capture
the actual gameplay reminded me a lot of Ni no Kuni 1.
Yeah, you get that as well.
Only like your character doesn't suck or can actually like battle. Like that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah, he battles. The character battles with the monsters that are there. And,
yeah.
So
that first game was like, oh, you're basically just sending your monsters out to fight for you. Like you can like lightly attack, but you're pretty much just staying in the back.
Right. It wanted you to. It was more of a Pokemon mechanic, but I'm liking it. I like the art style. It's super cute.
Well, especially the kids like hammer or axe or whatever.
Yeah, I love that they like. Apparently, this is supposed to be a family game that you can play as well. So it's just interesting. I don't know what it's gonna be like when you're actually sitting there around playing it, but this looks sort of interesting as far as like something different that you didn't expect when you thought thinking about like all the other games that are shown. It's almost like these are all like known quantities kind of things.
What was that one game you liked like last year? Or it was like a skiing, I think it was like a skiing game initially, and then it came to Switch and other stuff. It was like a Pokemon ripoff.
Oh my God. Now I know what you're talking about, and I can't think of it this minute. It's going to come to me when I'm not thinking about it, as almost everything else seems to do.
Yeah. Temtem, that's it.
Yeah, Temtem. It's fine. Like it's I have it on the PS5. It's a total Pokemon ripoff.
But those are fine. Why not?
Yeah, but those are total Pokemon. Just like the Koromon game that's going to come out next year. It's a total Pokemon ripoff. This is different. This is not like trying to be a total. This is taking that idea and kind of doing
only 95%. Let's give it some credit.
Well, this is more like Monster Hunter Stories as well. It's not necessarily like
Yeah,
I would say, but either way, I like more of the way it looks and what you're doing in that world. I would say I think that's sort of your like big announce from that Gamescom like live thing.
They had a few smaller stuff, but nothing of like interest either for us.
Yeah, I love that the Cult of the Lamb or whatever. That was hilarious. I love that. I love that announcement. That was fun. Looks like a total like Devolver thing you'd expect out of a Devolver joint. So totally down with whenever that comes out. But there's a lot of stuff from Gamescom. Go find the games that you really enjoyed. There was a lot of announcements that weren't at these showcases or whatever. There's probably something in there for you as well. Some notes about Elden Ring as well, and the fact that apparently George R. R. Martin has nothing to do with the story that's actually being presented to you. And
hey man, he has to spend time not writing those final Game of Thrones books. So
at least this is why that game's coming out, because if George R. R. Martin had anything to do with
it'd be coming out on the PlayStation 6.
Yeah, it wouldn't be coming out. It wouldn't be coming out at all. So, but yeah, I mean it's good that Gamescom had some good stuff in it. I'm gonna go back and this week and find some games that I'm looking forward to for sure. So let's get into more of our quick hitters, our other news from this week. Now that we got out of the major topic for the show, really quick here. Xbox Games for Gold for September look like this. A game that we have reviewed twice on the website, Warhammer Chaos Bane, is going to be on Xbox One and Xbox X.
At least it's a real game,
Yeah. It's what like Diablo clone.
Yeah.
So Mulaka, which I thought was fine, is going to be the other half of the month. For the 360s, Under the Enders HD, which that's really good. Go pick that up and play that on whatever system you have. And Samurai Showdown 2 is the other game 60 that's available at the tail end of the month there. So something that's very interesting because, as I think Marcus noted several times when we've ever talked about this, is Netherrealm usually switches between Mortal Kombat and Injustice. Right?
Yeah.
When they do the cycles. Right now, because of the whole WB thing of, we don't know which studio has what, and like they splintered off the studios, which is so weird. And then sometimes, depending on what day WB wakes up on, they don't want anything to do with video games at all. So it's like, they almost had that sale where like apparently Microsoft was talking to them about buying IPs, and then all of a sudden they went into, we're not going to sell anything, to doing exactly what I said, a little bit ago, splintering off the studios. So Netherrealm is kind of, because like, why would you get involved in a big property like Injustice where you have to deal with DC licenses and Warner Brothers licenses and just go with something that you know is going to sell well, and you don't have to worry about anything in Mortal Kombat 12. What do you think about going straight into a Mortal Kombat 12 already?
I mean, Mortal Kombat 11, it's been supported for a pretty long time.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they had 3 different character packs, or maybe.
And the expansions and...
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, sure. I mean, I don't know what you do next, like Mortal Kombat. It's almost like the Saints Row problem of the Mortal Kombat story has gotten so crazy. I mean, they already rebooted it once, and now it's even further up its own ass. So,
but that's the fun thing.
Are you gonna try to do that again? I don't know. I just feel I personally feel like they should take a game off. I mean, it might not be Injustice, but find something else to do, but that's just me.
Yeah, it would be nice.
I mean, I don't mind to make another fighting game, but just cranking out Mortal Kombat, it's just it can get fatiguing,
Yeah, I mean, for people that like it, obviously not. I think people that want to be in that fighting game scene and keep on. I mean, at this point, they're doing a lot more than Street Fighter. Street Fighter's kind of taking the really slow roll with it and keep trying to find characters to put in.
I do think it's funny if they're making an Injustice movie or cartoon movie.
Probably because Warner Brothers is much more interested in what that could bring in the video game.
Yeah.
So
plus, I mean, that could work pretty well as a cartoon.
Yeah, definitely can. I mean, you can start a whole series with it.
Yeah.
As well. Interesting that the WWE 2K22, of course, is the next in the series for this entire thing with 2K and WWE and whatever they are at this point. Estranged lovers, in a quarrel between a bad point in the marriage. I don't know what you really want to call it, but their whole thing is it hits different this year because I guess they're trying to show how they redesigned everything.
Well, hey, in the last WWE game, the hits barely worked at all. So
I guess so. But the big thing is it's not going to come out October or November of this year. It's going to be March 2022, which again puts it in that spring window with a bunch of other games. But it also would have it coming out around WrestleMania time instead of in around whatever the October pay-per-view is at this point, and maybe Survivor Series. So that, to me, that's a better marketing area. WrestleMania is your biggest show of the year. Like, why not have it around there? But that's apparently WWE is not happy with the delay. 2K doesn't like the fact that they're having to work with a roster that is mostly there's a lot of people that are not there anymore.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, at a certain point, you have, like, there's a cutoff, and it's like, oh, Adam Cole just left, and he's still in the game. I mean, they could just lock him off, but
no, I mean, that happens, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like with the other game, like other sports games, you see things change a lot faster, right?
Well, the other sports games allow for something called roster updates.
Yeah. Like this game is different because they have to mold that character, build a moveset, build everything around that character. If they have something to do with the story mode, you build that into it as well. Like these are less interchangeable parts.
Oh, I don't know. You can just give any give Otis a Stone Cold Stunner move as his finisher, and that'll be it.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing is for me, whatever this is, let's be fair. I mean 2K hasn't necessarily had the best track record with WWE games. So, for the recent times.
Anyway. Let me ask you then. Well, two things. One, who do you think is more to blame, WWE or 2K?
What does WWE have to do with that? I mean, WWE just provides their wrestlers.
Well, no, they mandate a lot of things.
They mandate a lot of things. I agree, but part of it is also the use. Like, I don't know whether WWE had something to do with that or whether 2K had something to do with that or they both did. But it's like how you have a studio like Visual Concepts and they totally messed that up for several years, making bad versions of games and all of that. I mean, it's weird to me that this is what you go with instead of, I don't know.
I still think the idea of making, because like football or basketball is a real sport.
Right.
I mean, there is athleticism and sports involved in wrestling, but it's still a scripted thing. Right. So them presenting it as a real fight always seemed a little weird in some, certain games more than others. Like, especially the recent WWE games. Like, they want to be a fighting game, but it's like, no, like you're missing, because you don't want to break that illusion that it's not real. So it's like, okay, then these games are always going to be a little doomed to failure. But here's my second, more interesting and fun question. How fun, because, I mean, they just had CM Punk on AEW, and there's already rumors swirling that Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson.
Well, he's already there.
Yeah, he's going to pop up soon. How funny would it be if they said, oh, we're putting out a game on whatever the hell date this WWE game is coming out on, March 2022, because they are making a game. I mean, no, they are making that. Right. I think Ukes is making it, which is
AEW. Yes, you're
fine. AEW. That's the thing about Ukes is like they aren't a bad developer. They just got ran into the ground from WWE.
Right, and then that yearly model of we can't really iterate too much on this because you're having to constantly put in the same thing that they run into with Madden and 2K, the NBA 2K series, and all that. Yeah,
like what would you say? Like, what would be a good schedule for this games? Every 2 or 3 years? Like, realistically, if you were in charge of games,
I think they just needed. I think NetherRealm has a good. I mean, you can say what you want about it, but I think they need to alternate between the simulation game, the
basically
All-Stars type, the Battlegrounds type game, but make it better than that terrible game, and maybe something different, something just
Like I've always said, that NetherRealm WWE game, get that thing off the ground.
I said that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, do you
I see what you're talking about. Just do switch between basically do what Forza does.
Yeah, do so that you have the time for whoever's only working on the simulation game to really be able to have that year off and make some look at what they're able to do. If now let's hope this game's actually good, right? Because you don't want them to take that year off and it's a waste of time. But it's like this is what the whole plan was. We released Battlegrounds as a make good, as a okay, well, here's a game for last year, right?
Yeah.
And then, well, this year we're really gonna show you what a WWE game can be like. Oh, let's go back to some of those early 2K ones, you know, the one, the Attitude Era one, the one after that with the Stone Cold, you know, the Stone Cold deal. Like, well, I think this is before.
Yeah.
Oh, Stone Cold was when they had 2K, but I don't know. I don't remember when the 2K thing started, honestly. But it's like the whole point is it was supposed to make this game better, make it whatever it is supposed to. And I think they need that cycle every time. It's not just, oh, we're going to get it right now, and then we're just going to add some things. And they need to get off this yearly cycle. They're not a sports game.
That's what they always do, though. So
I know, but I'm just saying, like, they are not a sports game. They're not a sport. They're not. Yeah. I mean, I know people want that game every year. I know they do, and I know people that just absolutely love whether it's the creative thing, whether it's the GM mode, or whether it's the whatever story mode they're gonna do. Like, I get it. There's people that absolutely love these games and they want to have that yearly cycle, but it's like it doesn't work for when you had the 64 era and you had No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000 and NWO Revenge and all that, and then like even the early PlayStation years, that was fine to have a game every. But it's like,
well, I mean, the N64 games were at least built on a good foundation. That was one thing, so that helped. And the PlayStation ones were like adding like semi-major shit every year. It was like Tony Hawk, you know.
Exactly. You got it to the point of like making it like Madden, of making it like all these other games of. Well, we have this thing that doesn't change. You can ask for this and this and this all you want, but it's not going to happen because we have like 8 months to turn around and make this game, and we're only going to be able to add this and this into it.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with this final thought or final point. Okay, they have the simulation game this year, or next year.
Yeah,
the one after that. What if you put Stone Cold in the monster truck?
Crush Hour
2, yeah, Crush Hour HD.
How did I know we weren't going to get a Crush Hour reference from Mark?
It's the best wrestling game ever.
Best non-wrestling game. I mean, or even do something like Day of the Reckoning, right? Where it was weird.
Which one is that?
Day of the Reckoning.
Was that the one?
Was the one where you like had the weird storyline where you like. They made it like an action game, and was that the Streets of Rage ripoff where like Stephanie was kidnapped? Yes, that one.
Okay,
that one where you're like fighting in the parking lot and the street and all that other craziness.
Well, there was I think a WCW fighting game that was like WCW Backstage Assault. Yeah, but this was like a total like Streets of Rage like knockoff where I think the Undertaker kidnapped her.
Yeah, and they had a Game Boy game that was like that.
That's the one I'm thinking. Yeah, I remember that one.
I like Day of the Reckoning had the they had a story mode where you like there was an actual storyline going on, but you also like went and made decisions, and then there was like matches that didn't always take place in the ring, and they were weird, and some of them had like weird objectives, and like do stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, just to be different. And give people an idea to it doesn't have to be the same thing every night. And that's my problem with it. It's like don't annualize something that doesn't need to be annualized because it's not working for the WWE. Too much goes into those games. I think way more than the other sports games that you can't really do it.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't at least bode well for them. Something that I feel like a lot of people have brought up every time Ratchet and Clank gets brought up is that, well, a central part of the game was these rifts, and it was supposed to show you how great the PS5 is. And I have Randy even mentioned in his review when he reviewed it. I think you talked about it as well, that the few times that we've talked about the game, that the rift thing It's really not this revolutionary
Yeah.
big thing. And to have the founder of Traveler's Tales, which of course make the Lego games, come out and basically say, well, this could have been accomplished on PS4 for sure. And
He said PS3.
he said PS3, but the whole deal was this could not be done on PS4, which is why it's not cross-gen.
Yeah.
And this is on his Coding Secrets channel, by the way. He's saying that basically Sonic is being misleading with this.
Yeah, I watched
played the game, so
yeah, I watched his video too, and a lot of what he said makes sense. Like that whole big trailer moment where like going through dimensions, it's like, oh, you're like riding down a building and then you jump off and then you're like in another dimension where you're like flying on a bird or something, and then you go into like the future city. It's like that's an all on rails thing. Like you have no real agency about what you're doing, right? And also it only happens once,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're like side areas in each game world. It's like, oh, you go into like a rift, but it's like it's like a little pocket dimension just full of boxes, and you just jump between the different areas until you get the the helmet piece or the armor piece you want.
Yeah.
So I agree with him. Yeah, like I think the game still looks visually stunning, or like it looked good, but like yeah, like it. I think it could have been done on PS4. It might not have been done as snappy, but what a 1 or 2 second load, like that's going to kill anyone,
Yeah, I mean that was the whole point, was that we don't want it to load, let's do it. So
yeah, but the guy made up a lot of good points about like basically caching between the different levels, because like the game knows where you are. It's not you can speed up or slow down in like what you're doing. So I mean, yeah,
it's that's the game sometimes.
It's their choice. I like I was saying earlier, like there needs to be a line in the sand somewhere, between the old generation and the new one. I mean, yeah, you could have done it on the old one, sure, but we need to start moving ahead. If we keep getting hamstrung by like the console from 7 years ago, that's always going to be a hindrance.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you chose not to do it with some of your other bigger or just as big or bigger franchises, but you did do it with Ratchet. Whereas, like, it was understandable with Returnal, it was a new IP. Okay, go ahead. But Ratchet is a known IP, I
mean, believe me, they probably could have done Returnal on PS4 also. So
yeah,
but again, like I said, there just needs to be some type of division somewhere. So
I would agree, yeah. People need to start getting used to the fact that these are the new systems, and eventually it's going to get to the point where you won't have games coming to, well, at least PS4. Microsoft keeps using the cloud. They can have games continue to keep coming to the Xbox One.
This was like a week ago. I was at a used game store, or like used DVD and game store, and this guy was asking questions to the clerk about a Switch, and he was like, so I don't have any of my old games on it? And she was like, no. Like, she was being pretty polite, more than I would have been, for sure. He was like, well, I have a 3DS. I can't play the 3DS games on my Switch, and the Switch? And she was like, no. And he was like, well, is there an adapter you can buy?
No.
And she was like, no. Like, he asked like 20 questions about playing old games on it, and I almost got to the point where just telling him, like, hey, you can't play old games on this thing, aside from their shitty online service,
Well, it should have been like, it's a Switch. This is a new console. It only plays Switch games. And
it's like, what? Could you play NES game? Was there some NES adapter for the Wii? I don't think so.
Well, no, but it's like, I understand what he's saying, right? Because it's a hybrid console. Every other version of the Game Boy has been able to play the older systems games.
Sure.
I get what that person is trying to, but whoever this was at the front of the store, the clerk could have been like, listen, this is the Nintendo Switch. Yeah. It only plays games that are for the Nintendo Switch, and that's it.
She also made the grave error of also saying like, oh, there's a new Switch on the way coming soon. And he was like, what's that? Or, he's basically like, what does it do? And I think she knew about it, but she didn't really know. So I did chime in and say, like, hey, it has a slightly better screen, and that's it.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. Yeah. I've had to do that sometimes too, where I actually, the one where I live, they have some pretty knowledgeable people. So
yeah,
but I still have had to sometimes I don't go there as much as I used to, and don't buy physical things.
Right.
But when I used to when I was collecting the pops really hardcore and I was in there a lot, there was many times I'd have to go and be like, yeah, make sure you know this and this and this about it. They're like, oh, thank you.
Right.
And they would either decide they wanted to buy that or not, but at least they know all of the information they need to know. But, God bless that clerk. They didn't really have to do that either, I guess. So, speaking of something that I guess Blizzard didn't have to do, but they are doing, is changing. We talked about them. This was already something that was going to be in the works. It's not necessarily a total surprise.
Yeah.
Considering who McCree is named after, the Overwatch cowboy, that they are going to change his name. Of course, he was the lead designer of Diablo 4. I don't have a problem. I mean, like, I'm not an Overwatch person, so I don't have any ties to this. This doesn't absolve the company of anything. I mean, don't let this... Like, the other thing that's more important is the fact that this company is also being accused of destroying evidence at this point. If nothing makes you look more guilty, then I'm going to destroy things so that you can't find the information that you received that would really put us in a hole. And the fact that they keep making sure they don't put the Activision name anytime they show Call of Duty, which is stupid. Even though the common person may not connect the two, you're not fooling anybody. So stop it.
Yeah, the funniest thing was that statement that they put out. Like, I don't think it's in the story, but the statement ends with like, "You believe it's necessary to change the name of the hero, currently named as McCree, to something that better represents what Overwatch stands for." And my response was, "I'm going to change his name to Bill Cosby."
Oh man, stop it! That's so. I'm sorry. Sorry, people.
But it's like, I mean, it's weird that like they are taking this like stance, like, what Overwatch stands for. It's like
people are demanding it, just like they wanted the name of the guy.
I understand that, but it's like Overwatch doesn't stand for shit. Like, it's Overwatch stands for making money. Like, you're doing this because it's hurting your bottom line, not because like you care.
Well, no, but the people that are making this game care, and the people that play the game care.
No, the people that are making this game care now. They didn't care when they started making it, or
fair. As far as what I've seen and heard, the Overwatch team was not one of the teams that was.
They were one of the better ones. Yes.
Yeah, they're one of the better ones. So like they weren't involved in.
Yeah, it wasn't like the WoW team.
Yeah, so to be fair to them,
that one guy, the guy who left, he was like the one heading up Overwatch. Like, there's never been like an unkind word said about him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the reason why they want to do it is because they don't want to be associated with that, and it's understandable. So more power to them. They want to change the name.
Yeah. Jeff Kaplan was the guy. Change his name to that. No, I'm serious.
What?
Like, he was the one. Yeah, I'm not kidding about that. Like,
call him Kaplan I mean, he was a stand-up guy, so definitely.
I'll be curious. I mean, they're obviously changing this for Overwatch 2. I'll be curious how this rolls into Overwatch 1, or if they just have to do like a quick, because like a lot of that game has like voiceover of like your like characters speaking to one another, so they have to like re-record every voice actor's line that says, "Oh, cowboy guy, heal me," or something, do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look. I'm glad that they're doing this to change the name. The people involved that really want to see this happen. Again, the whole thing about them not retaining evidence.
Yeah, it's
their documents.
It's like, several companies did that in the 80s and 90s. Look how well it turned out for them.
Yeah, this is not giving you a good look at all. They're acting a good job.
And it's always good when you it's like, we have nothing to hide. Yeah, because it's all the dumpster out back and thousands of pieces.
Well, let's get into a, I guess, thing that maybe you don't expect here when it comes to looking at retro consoles. Is number one, the NES and SNES designer retired as the SNES hits its 30th anniversary, which man,
the long ass run.
That makes you feel old. So after nearly 39 years, She has retired. Lance Barr was part of Nintendo America in December 1982 and worked there until last month. Wow, that's pretty amazing to work there for after almost 39 years at one company, and he's moving on to other projects. So, some cool designs. I mean, people will always, I think, remember, especially the NES.
Yeah.
The SNES had several forms, but they kept that. At least I will always think about, for me, because that was my first console. When I think of video games, that purple and gray, I will associate with video games. That's part of the reason why I kind of chose purple as like the secondary color for the podcast as well. Is that I just think of it as video games for me. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if like for me it's also like celebrating 30 years of the SNES. It's amazing to think about.
Well, it's funny because like people debate on if the Super Famicom or the regular Super Nintendo looks better. I actually like this box, like the Super Nintendo.
Right.
But like the Famicom versus the NES, it's like holy shit, the Famicom is such an ugly system.
Oh yeah, that like red and white with the
and like the controllers like slide into the side, and it's like because they have like a foot-long cable.
Yeah,
and it's like Jesus Christ. I mean, the NES has problems from like a design point, like the cartridge slot, obviously, but like it looks better, or you can clearly see the inspiration with this VCR. And it's like, yeah, around the time they made that totally makes sense because the VCR was popular. So,
right. But it's still a thing of like the NES just has this design where it's like there's nothing else like it.
Yeah.
So you know what that is when you see it. So that's the thing for me. And like,
I mean, those two systems are iconic.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you think about like just that is really when that is console gaming. I mean, you can say what you want about the Atari, but it's like console gaming started with these consoles.
Yeah.
And further on with the Genesis. But it's like these consoles are really what pushed console gaming into, oh wow, if people want to have these in their homes, and almost everyone had one or the other or both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's still great that he got to work at Nintendo for all those years. But what isn't great is when you look at the game side of where these consoles come from, a little bit of fraud, a little bit of shadiness going on here as the WATA, and WATA Games and Heritage Auctions have been apparently complicit in...
Well, they claim they aren't, but yeah.
Complicit in getting the
disclaimer here is they deny everything. But go on.
Of course. Yeah, it's alleged so far right now. But that they're one of the reasons why that copy of Super Mario Brothers sold for $2 million. This is of course being alleged by journalist Carl Jopes. And
I think it's Jopes, but yeah.
52-minute video investigation that he does on grading company WATA Games and the collectibles auction company Heritage Auctions. They've kind of been manipulating things and cohorting together. CEO Dennis Kahn and Jim Halperin in order to inflate the market for retro games, and we haven't seen that. We haven't seen retro games go up in price, sometimes exceedingly high for some of these games.
Yes. I mean, I don't think you watched the video. I did.
No.
Yeah, a lot of it makes sense. This guy connects a lot of the dots together. There's like one of the things he talks about is this like dentist who spent $1 million collecting, like buying up new or like unopened old games. Yeah. And he pointed out that the dentist isn't spending his money. He's like he's basically spending other people's money speculating that like these games are worth that much.
Right.
And B, he points out a lot of the articles about this dentist guy call him like the greatest collector ever. And it's like this guy only started collecting like 3 months ago, and the amount of money you spend does not equate to how good or bad or your dedication as a collector.
In fact, sometimes, but the best part of collecting is the bargains that you find out. So money.
And it's like I'm sure I could put an NES controller in this dentist's hands and have him play Mario Brothers 1. Get to the last level, or even get to the first castle. I'm sure this guy has never even touched a video game before. I'm
Right.
completely honest with that. Or he points out this Dennis Halpern guy did some shady stuff in the '80s with coin collecting, and he had to pay like $1 million fine because he was like manipulating coin prices,
Yeah,
and that bubble burst, and it's never recovered.
that's true.
Yeah, this Dennis Halpern guy, he was on WATA's like board of directors, or involved with them setting up. The funny thing about WATA is they're like a new company. They only started in like 2017, 2018. Meanwhile, there's another company called VGA, I think the Video Game Authority. They've been on for like almost like at least a decade, or like longer. So
Yeah,
it's
like
like,
I've heard of the Video Game Authority. Yeah.
it's like, why would you want? Why is there another need, or why is there a need for another rating, company when the already established one is already good, or
Yeah, outside of greed and outside of just trying to, how can we manipulate this in our
Right.
favor? Because usually when you already have one company that does something like that, it's like, why? It's almost like creating 2 ESRBs. Why would you do that?
Yeah. And yeah, that was like what some studios, or not studios, but some states were trying to do back when the ESRB
Started, yeah.
Yeah. What else? So yeah, this, like I said, that video went on for a long time. The funniest thing, and he didn't get into this at all, but this is what I was thinking. Remember, what was it? Remember last year when they sold that Nintendo PlayStation at auction? This was to Heritage, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that Dennis Halpern guy probably bought it, or someone from Heritage bought it.
Probably.
And they're gonna flip it, in a few years, and go, oh, this is like the only item in existence, and sell for like $4 million or something.
Yeah.
This guy like routinely buys comics, will auction them to himself basically, and then in a few years like re-auction them to drive up the price. It's incredibly shady. Both WATA and Heritage said, oh no, there's nothing untoward happening here, but it's like, well,
oh yeah. Well, I mean, of course they're not going to come out and be like, oh yeah, I did it, everybody.
We're manipulating everything. Yeah. Also, that Dennis Kahn guy looks like a creep. He looks like shady as hell. He was on like Pawn. They had him on Pawn Stars a few different times, and it's like, yeesh, you look even too creepy for this show, dude. Like,
yeah, that's saying something right there.
And there's another part about this like big. I think it was like the Nintendo Age Collector's collection. It was like this massive game collection. Got sold to a guy, and they both worked at WATA.
Oh,
and then like they gave the collection its own name, and they go, oh, this game is like higher value because it's part of this collection, so it's worth more. But as you guys work for the same company that is grading this shit, like, well, don't you see the problem here? Like,
yeah, I mean, but they don't. But I'm sure somebody like the guy who did the investigation did. It certainly makes sense.
I mean, that'd be the equivalent of like you making a video game and then asking me to review it.
Yeah. Well, people just they got away with it, right? That was the point. They got away with it and then figured, nobody's gonna really care about the shit. Like, they just want to buy their games, and no one's gonna pay attention to this.
What's really funny is let me check. I have pictures, and I went to Chicago last year. I have pictures. We went to a game store out there of Persona 3 Portable and Shin Megami Tensei, the first one on PSP, like the two Persona PSP games,
right?
For $60 each used. Now Persona 1 is $140.
Jeez.
And Persona 3 Portable is $170.
Woo.
Or remember that? Oh, what is it? Remember Def Jam, Fight Free New York?
Yes.
Yeah, that game is expensive. It's about $150 now.
Damn.
For like the PS2 or the GameCube version, like the Xbox is like $90, and it's nothing against that game. I actually like it quite a bit. But it's like that's a $30 game, like
should be a $30 game.
Yeah. So yeah, like there has to be some price manipulation. I don't think Heritage is pulling, or I think this WATA is pulling all of the strings, but I think they're pulling a lot of them, which is having the ripple effect of games getting crazy or prices going nuts.
Yeah.
Like I saw a picture of someone was selling used copies of Mario Galaxy for the Wii for $300 a pop.
Oof.
And it's like, good luck with that. Or I had a picture. I mean, I don't know if you ever peruse your Facebook Marketplace like I do. There's a picture I from some dude. I think it might have been a woman. I think it was this guy actually, in a neighboring town, trying to sell an Atari 2600 for $700 just the console. I don't think there were any controllers or any games. So it's heavy. Like people think like, oh, they see like, oh, this copy of Mario Brothers sold for $2 million. This crap I have, instead of selling it for like $30, we're gonna sell for $300, and someone might buy it.
Yeah, if you said you were selling it for like $100 or something.
Yeah,
Kind of understand. I want to make some money, right?
Right.
But $700. Woo.
Well, even an Atari. I mean, if the Atari came with like a whole bunch of games, maybe $100. But this thing just had like the picture of the console. It's like nothing else was included. It looked like, so it's like
like not even you don't even
that's
know
worth
if there's
like
connections to that or
I think that's worth like $30.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, there's one on eBay. It just has just the console for $40 each.
Yeah, I mean, think about the quality of the games that are coming out of there. Like not anything you need to paying that much money.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's having like this stuff is having the knock-on effect of like eBay pricing going crazy, and then when someone checks eBay pricing or like price charting, they go like, oh, or this copy of Zelda sold for $200. I'll sell mine for like $190, and it's like, no, it's worth like $100 or $70 or something like that,
Yeah.
And they also brought up the Carl Jokes guy brought up the part about like intrinsic versus extrinsic value, like. What's the game worth, like as far as material costs, like $1 to or maybe like $5 or something, but like it's the same thing as like paintings. Like why is the Mona Lisa considered like priceless, or because it has more value than what it's worth as canvas and paint. And it's the same thing with games, because people have like nostalgic value for games, but not to that extent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're shady. It'd be nice if some legal action comes from this somewhere, but I doubt it because lawmakers don't care. And this Jim Halpern guy sounds like the scum of the earth.
Yep, does not surprise me at all.
Yeah.
On that front.
Yep. But I just wanted to bring it up.
Oh, fair enough.
So, do you collect anything really? I mean, you used to collect Funko Pops, I guess.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I'm trying to sell them now. I don't collect anything.
Yeah. But I mean, that was like another bubble, or like the video the guy brought up like Beanie Babies.
Well, Funko is still
growing.
Like I thought that when I said okay, that's it. I mean, I thank God I did, because my whole house would have been freaking shelves of Funko Pops.
You're wrong. The house would just be made of Funko Pops.
Yeah, like I don't get the people that have rooms with the Funko Pop boxes on the floor and they just keep stacking them up.
Yeah.
Like,
how many do you have left?
I mean, I think my mom has sold a total of 10. I still probably have like 400 or something.
Okay.
But the thing is, most of them are like commons. We're not talking about.
Yeah. See, that was my thing. Is I have like 8 or 9, and there's like a few more I would like to get, but I'm not. It's not like I don't need to go crazy over it, or I don't want to collect like a whole set from a show or something.
Yeah, like the only one I thought about, like I have some that I kept. Like I kept the Cowboys one.
Yeah.
Some of the like Bulbasaur and some here and there that I know I really, really like, and regardless of how much I can't stand myself for having done this,
Yeah.
And the debt that I put myself in for stupidity. But like the people that do this and they'll enjoy it, hey, you know what? More power to you. And if you're able to sell and get that going, then I'm glad that you are.
Yeah, I have a friend who frequently criticizes my buying habits or spending habits.
Yeah.
Because I buy a bunch of like Blu-rays and DVDs and games.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, well, yeah, but you're so broke, or all this other stuff. It's like, well, yeah, to an extent, but I never gone starving, or I never missed a rent payment or anything. Like, I may be cash poor a lot of the time, but I'm not like desperate,
Right?
Or it's not like impacting me on like that type of scale,
Yeah, I mean, but that's your decision, right? If you wanted to do that,
Yeah.
Just like what was happening here is just they're inflating prices.
Yeah.
Right. And at least what I could say is that Funko's, for the most part, when you go on eBay or Funko itself has its own app.
Yeah,
it tells you
own,
how much
yeah
you should be paying for stuff. Like they're ahead of the game on that front. But obviously these companies, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, and all the developers don't want to get involved in the stuff of like pricing and telling you, this is what you should be paying.
That's another thing from that WATA thing is, I guess most grading companies, or not WATA, but Heritage, most auction companies have like lists, or I think it might be WATA, like lists of grades. Like the guy talked about like comics. I think like there's no like perfect version of Superman Origin Comic, Action Comics #1 or whatever. And there's like 2 versions, like 9.4, 3 that are like 9.2. Stuff, it just goes down the list. I think he called it perspectives or like something like that. But WATA does not release their version of that, which is like super shady.
Yeah, because really super shady.
Because if people knew, there's 900 copies of Mario World, unopened or like still in the shrink wrap, then yeah, Mario Brothers wouldn't be worth $2 million if there are 300 other copies of it laying around. So yeah, I think the bubble will burst eventually. I don't know how soon it'll be. I think it'll be sooner now because people know about this shit. But
yeah, also
the guy brought up the point that like most collectors, when they buy something like a high value item, they want to show it to other collectors, or they want to show their collection off.
Right. That was the reason why I had the shelves.
Yeah, or like he brought up, he actually interviewed him or talked to him a little. The Pat the Nest Punk, the guy in the Seat podcast, like he has every NES game, including like the one that costs like $20,000 or whatever. I think that at the time it cost that. Mm-hmm. That's money, or that takes some dedication. But they're talking about people who buy these like The Legend of Zelda for $800,000. It's like you don't know who that guy is because it's not really a guy. It's some company buying it, or they're trying to like get a hold of this. And also people are like buying rare games and selling shares of it.
Wow!
Like you can go on like a website and buy like this unopened copy of GoldenEye is like $1,000. You can buy like a piece of it, but it's all like you don't own it. It's just like a paper ownership essentially. It's not like The Simpsons 3 minute a comic book. You get Radioactive Man Monday and Wednesday, and I get it Tuesday and Thursday, and Randy gets it Friday and Saturday. Whatever. But so yeah, God. It's all like really crazy, and I hope it bursts because I would like to be able to buy games again at a reasonable price.
Yeah, I would imagine it would eventually, so. Well, that is going to do it here for us this week. As far as Video Games to the Max, thank you for joining us on this show. If you're not watching on video, we have a ticker here that tells you all this information about where else you can find the show. But if you are enjoying the show and you'd like to subscribe, you can do it on the YouTube with ringing that bell, hitting that like button or the subscribe button. And anytime we do a show, of course, it is there. Of course, on the YouTube page, you'll get all of our other content with WATA Network produces. Soccer to the Max is back, and we are doing shows once a week on Tuesday. Sometimes we specials when there are big things. The Champions League draw that just happened. So if you want to hear Eric and I's thoughts on that, it's happening. It happened there. Then you'll get to see what happens sometimes to the game show where we release a show and the next day or that same morning that I'm releasing the show, crazy stuff happens. Same thing happened with the soccer show that we did yesterday. So that was to experience there. And, also on the sports front of kickoff, of course, NFL is about to start again, and they'll be your home for everything that involves the NFL college football on the network. So make sure you listen to the kickoff every week. And, of course, Radlett's doing all the entertainment stuff for the network. They have reviewed it so much goodness in the past few weeks. You need to go check it out. And, well, until next week, hopefully you be enjoying those games, and we'll see you later.